The fate of Adolf Hitler remains one of the darkest and most enigmatic chapters of the 20th century. Officially, it is widely accepted that he committed suicide in his bunker in Berlin on April 30th, 1945. But what if that was merely a meticulously staged spectacle? What if the most wanted man in the world didn't die, but vanished into the most inhospitable place on Earth? This story is a complex tapestry woven from historical facts and the pervasive, persistent theories that for decades have haunted truth seekers and conspiracy theorists alike. It's a modern myth, born from the chaos of a brutal war, but offers a more dramatic and, for some, more satisfying conclusion to the life of a monstrous figure than the quiet, pathetic whimper of a suicide in a besieged underground shelter. The Last Days in Berlin, a deceptive exit by the spring of 1945. Berlin was a city of rubble and despair, a smoldering ruin where the air itself seemed to taste of defeat. The relentless Soviet forces were tightening their stranglehold, and the end of the Third Reich was an undeniable certainty. The sounds of artillery fire echoed constantly, a grim chorus accompanying the final moments of a regime built on a foundation of terror and ambition. Hitler, confined to the claustrophobic depths of his underground bunker, appeared to have resigned himself to utter defeat, his once fiery rhetoric replaced by manic depression and fits of rage. Yet, according to a far more sinister and elaborate, conspiratorial version of events, this public despair was merely a meticulously crafted facade. While the world watched and believed in his imminent downfall, a clandestine escape plan was being executed through a network of secret channels and loyalists. The theory posits that Hitler used one of his many doubles to play the part of the suicidal dictator. The man chosen for this role was a perfect physical match, a forgotten individual who would become the historical footnote everyone would remember as Hitler. The body, or what was believed to be his, was hastily incinerated, a crucial detail that created the perfect conditions for ambiguity and doubt regarding its identity. The extensive burn damage made forensic identification nearly impossible, a convenient and, some would argue, deliberate outcome that served the needs of both a desperate escape and a future narrative. While world leaders and Allied forces were celebrating the death of the tyrant, the real Hitler, along with Eva Braun and a small, trusted group of high-ranking officers and scientists, was allegedly slipping away into the chaos of the ruined city through a network of secret tunnels and underground passages, a system originally designed for wartime defenses, now repurposed for a final, desperate retreat. This escape network, known to some as the Rat Lines, was a sophisticated operation designed to spirit away key Nazi figures, not to South America, as is often believed, but to a far more strategic destination. The plan, so the theory goes, involved a flight from Berlin to northern Germany, where a waiting U-boat, specifically a state-of-the-art Type 21 submarine with an advanced snorkel system allowing it to stay submerged for weeks, would carry Hitler and his entourage on the long, perilous journey. The submarine would not be heading to Argentina, a destination too easily tracked, but to a destination far more remote and secure, a place that would serve as the final, impenetrable bastion of the Reich. The journey itself was a descent into a world of shadow and silence, a long, tense voyage beneath the waves, where the only sign of life was the rhythmic hum of the submarine's engines and the constant ticking of a clock counting down to an unknown future. Operation High Jump, the Antarctic War, as the world celebrated victory over fascism. Allied powers were growing increasingly concerned by strange and persistent reports of a covert German base in Antarctica. The legend of Neuschwabenland, New Swabia, a mysterious territory first explored by the Germans in 1939, had been circulating quietly. This wasn't a mere exploratory mission. It was a territorial claim based on extensive aerial surveys and the alleged discovery of a vast ice-free region heated by geothermal springs, a perfect location for a hidden base. The Nazis, with their esoteric interests and obsession with secret societies, saw this region as more than just a scientific curiosity. They saw it as the perfect sanctuary, a pristine, untouched world where they could rebuild their empire. In 1946, the United States launched one of the most massive and peculiar military operations of peacetime, Operation High Jump. Led by the celebrated Admiral Richard E. Byrd, the expedition was an immense display of naval power. It involved over 4,700 military personnel, 13 warships, including the aircraft carrier USS Philippine Sea, and numerous support vessels and aircraft. The official mission was declared as a scientific and cartographic survey of the continent. But many found the sheer scale of the operation, a full-on naval task force sent to the frozen wastes, to be deeply suspicious. The expedition was far more suited to a military engagement than a scientific one. The ships were loaded not just with scientific equipment, but with weaponry and special forces, all of which pointed to a mission of a far more serious nature than simple exploration. The conspiracy theory surrounding the mission claimed that its true purpose was to locate and neutralize the Nazi base. After his return, Admiral Byrd gave a series of enigmatic interviews that only fueled the flames of suspicion. He made cryptic statements, hinting at a new threat originating from the poles that could strike with incredible speed. These words were widely interpreted as a veiled warning about an advanced Nazi force and its secret, high-tech weaponry. The theory alleges that Operation High Jump was not a success, but a catastrophic failure. It claims the task force encountered a heavily armed Nazi presence, which utilized a form of advanced aerial technology to repel the invasion. According to these accounts, several U.S. aircraft were lost, and the expedition was forced to retreat. Prematurely, its official mission a cover for a humiliating military defeat. The sudden and unexplained termination of the expedition, well ahead of schedule, only added to the mystery, strengthening the belief that a secret war had been fought and lost in the Antarctic ice. A war that the world would never know about. Base 211 and the genesis of the UFOs. According to this sprawling theory, the legendary Base 211 was not merely a military outpost but a deep, subterranean city constructed far beneath the permanent ice sheet of Antarctica. It was a self-sufficient, technologically advanced fortress, powered by the very geothermal energy of the ice-free regions discovered in 1939. This secret haven was a perfect crucible for continuing the Third Reich's most radical and fantastical research programs away from the prying eyes of the victorious Allied powers. The base was a marvel of engineering, a labyrinth of steel and concrete, with vast hangars and laboratories hidden from view. The most famous of these alleged programs was the development of advanced flying machines, the progenitors of what the world would later come to know as flying saucers. These were not conventional aircraft, but disc-shaped craft, such as the rumored Hanebu and Vril-Gesellschaft craft, which allegedly utilized anti-gravity technology and exotic propulsion systems that defied conventional physics. Another key piece of this puzzle was Die Glock, the bell, a supposed top-secret Nazi device that was a precursor to this anti-gravity technology. The theory states that these technologies were not just theoretical but were fully operational, perfected in the solitude of Base 211. The UFO sightings of the post-war era, from the Kenneth Arnold sighting in 1947 to countless others, are therefore not evidence of extraterrestrial visitors, but of Nazi technology being tested in secret. The U.S. government, after its alleged failure in Operation High Jump, was supposedly desperate to acquire and reverse engineer this technology, leading to the creation of its own clandestine programs. The base itself is described in almost mythical terms, a technological marvel. It was a fortress of steel and ice, with vast hangars and laboratories hidden from view. The self-sufficiency of the base was key. It was equipped with advanced hydroponic farms and life support systems, allowing a select group of Nazi scientists, military leaders, and their families to live and work in secret. They were the architects of a new technological Fourth Reich, an ideological and scientific empire that would one day emerge from the ice to reclaim the world. The idea that a small, dedicated group of fanatics could survive and thrive in such an extreme environment, powered by a combination of scientific genius and insane ambition, is a powerful and unsettling narrative. Hitler's fate, between myth and reality. In this version of the story, Hitler did not simply escape justice. He embarked on a journey to Antarctica to lead a clandestine empire that was to be reborn from the ashes of his failed Reich. He was not a defeated, aging dictator, but a living symbol, a messianic figure who would inspire the remaining scientists and soldiers to continue the fight. The years spent in the perpetual winter of Antarctica were not an exile, but an opportunity, a chance to build a new, technological empire, hidden from the world and waiting for its moment to strike. Is any of this true? Most likely, no. There is no credible historical evidence for the existence of Base 211, for the incredible technologies, or for Hitler's escape to Antarctica. The widely accepted version of history is supported by forensic evidence from the bunker and the eyewitness testimonies of those who were there. However, this narrative remains one of the most popular and captivating conspiracy theories in modern history. It is fueled by fragments of real events, such as the secrecy surrounding Operation High Jump and the genuine strangeness of Admiral Byrd's remarks. It taps into the human desire for a simple explanation for complex and terrifying events, and a refusal to accept a banal end for a figure of such monumental evil. This story is not merely a fantasy about Hitler's survival. It is a metaphor that reflects our deepest fears and suspicions, our collective desire to believe that beyond the known world, incredible secrets are waiting to be uncovered. It is a story about the lingering presence of a monstrous ideology and the unsettling idea that it didn't truly die, but merely went into hiding. And as long as these mysteries remain unsolved, the legend of the Lost Reich in Antarctica will continue to live on. A ghost story for a modern paranoid age.